Another defeat for Spurs. Another win for Newcastle. Is that their 6th in a row, I think, in all comps?
I think so.
5 in the league. 1 in the Carabao Cup, presumably. What did you make of that, Max, as a fan of Spurs, who are your big team who win things except they don't?
Listen, the spare a thought for me, right? Tottenham have 2 wins in 10. Cambridge have 1 win in 10, right? Literally the 2 most out-of-form teams. It's so gut-wrenchingly depressing. Oh, anyway, I think that, do you know, when Ange came out in November 2023 and he said this was after the Chelsea game, the high line, 2 players sent off, all that. He said, at some point, we have to accept the referee's decision. This constant erosion of referees' authorities. This is what the game is going to get to. They will not have any authority. It's going to get diminished, and we're going to be in control of someone a few miles away watching a TV screen. And he says, I'm old school. I believe in respecting the referee's decision. If you say that once, at some point, and fair enough, I think it's impressive that it's taken a year and a half. You then can't answer to every question. If all things were equal and balanced, we'd have won today. And every time someone says, what do you mean by that? He says, well, what do you think I mean by that? I mean, well, we think we know what you mean by that. Can't you just tell us? And then he just says, I'm just saying, if all things were equal and balanced, we'd have won the game. It is, of all the rods for your own back, that is the one, isn't it? And I still like Ange. I still would like him to stay and it to play out. They've got so many injuries. I think they played okay. And I understand the frustration with the handball, but I did find his post-match funny, I've got to say. The angriest he'd ever been is what he said. Ever.
Yeah, well, because he refused to elaborate, we can only surmise as to what he was really driving at. One presumes the Joe Linton handball is one thing. There's an argument that Joe Linton could have been sent off for a kind of quite premeditated, I thought, bit of a forearm smash on... Was it Harvey Barnes?
No.
Wouldn't be. It was.
Although once I was at a Cambridge game where Paul Rayner was sent off for headbutting Mick Heathcote, and they were teammates, so that was a disappointment. But yes, it was.
It wasn't Harvey Barnes, was it? I think it was Lucas Bergeville. And then what was? Should Dan Byrne have got a second yellow for that handball? I think there's a good case to be argued that he possibly should, but I also think, going on the number of crosses Spurs got into the Newcastle box, Porro was playing some wonderful crosses, Kulusevski, Maddison, Brennan Johnson, all getting cross after cross after cross in the box. Why couldn't they score from 1 or 2 of them?
Yeah. And also, I mean, I think Kulusevski on Gordon could easily have been a penalty as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But here's the handball, right? The Joe Linton handball, right? As somebody who hates all handballs, I'm in a difficult position here to try and suggest that anything should be given as a handball. But I think now, and go with me on this, and I'm very happy to just be accused of being a myopic hypocrite like everyone else. The reason I hate those handball penalties is because the punishment is so big for the crime, right? A cross comes in, it hits someone's arm, and it's a penalty. In the same way and so the attacking team don't deserve that penalty. Newcastle, they don't deserve, and maybe it's just bad luck. But if he doesn't hit Joe Linton's hand, and it's not the wrong decision, it's the law is the problem, then Spurs actually beat the press and they're on their way. And so it hits his hand and then Newcastle score. And so it just feels demonstrably not fair. It doesn't feel fair, right? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel right. And also, this weird thing that if Joe Linton had just, taken a touch and smashed it in the top corner, that would be disallowed. Because if you handball it and then you score, whether it's deliberate or not, that is no goal. So it seems weird that a handball can be a handball in some instances and not in others. But maybe I'm just shouting at thin air. I totally understand. I think the decision was correct, but I think the law of handball is just totally ruined in so many ways. And that is another one where it just doesn't feel right. And maybe football shouldn't feel right, but I don't think it feels right. But I appreciate that I'm not objective in this conversation. No further questions?
Right. Well, I'm sort of in the same camp as Eddie Howe, and I actually believe him on this occasion when he says, I don't really understand the handball law anymore. I don't really understand it either. I should make it my business to understand it, but it keeps changing. and different refs had different interpretations. Refs in England viewed differently to refs on the continent. So, yeah, I don't know. But I think even with that decision going against them, and I'm not saying the decision was wrong, Spurs could still have, they had ample opportunities to win that game and didn't take them. But
and actually, on that moment, they don't need to be in that position. They don't need to roll it to Archie Gray and then to Bergvall. They're all under pressure. I know they like to play out. But look, I thought it was interesting. I thought it wasn't a bad performance. They're not going to win the league. They never do. Qualifying for Europe was going to be very difficult. I think he rested and a couple of players there, Son and Maddison, whatever, because they've got Liverpool on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup, and that is a massive, massive game for them. Should we do one more before the break? Why not? Man City, West Ham. I mean, in the end, very 20-23-24 for City, wasn't it? But at 0-0, West Ham got through maybe 2 or 3 times. And so they sort of they're still not quite, Ian Pep said it afterwards, they're not quite the same, but, it was only West Ham.
Yeah, well, they can only beat what's in front of them. Last week, it was Leicester. Yesterday, it was West Ham. They won both games. They won convincingly yesterday, but there are still issues there. And City have a toughish run of games coming up, I think. We'll see what they're made of. We'll be able to gauge the manner or the status of their crisis better when they've played a few teams that are better than West Ham and Leicester, which most Premier League sides are.
Yeah, Savino was good. You wonder if Savino was good in the same, because he just hasn't had it coached out of him yet.
Well, I was thinking exactly that when I saw what must Jack Grealish have been thinking when he was sitting in the dugout watching Savino skip past one player and, taking on his man, getting crosses in, and Grealish must, I used to be like that until Pep got his hands on me.
My other note from this game is, do you remember when Soufal and Souček were signed for West Ham? I don't know, it feels like about 100 years ago. And they looked like 2 old men, but they were like unlikely inspired signings. They're like, why can't everyone just go to the Czech Republic and buy these old looking people? And but they're actually brilliant. And now they just look like old people. Do you know what I mean? Now they're just like... I mean,
I think that time David Moyes went to the Czech Republic. He wanted to sign Souček, and then Soufal sort of came as a bit of a Brucey bonus. He caught his eye as well while he was scouting Souček. So, West Ham. I mean, they had quite a few chances in that game yesterday. I think 4-1 probably flatters City a bit, but West Ham aren't very good. How many matches does Lopetegui have to save his job now?
I think he saved that.
20 minutes of one.
I think we're over that hump. I reckon he's got 4 games to save his job now. Here's a text. I've just texted my mum, who lives in Liverpool, a few miles from Anfield, and she says it's very snowy and the cathedral is white.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.